Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Ogun State, lived a maiden named Sandra. She toiled diligently as a maid for the affluent and esteemed Mrs. Ade, a blind woman who relied on Sandra not only for her daily chores, but also for managing her finances. Mrs. Ade was a wise and kind woman who, despite her blindness, saw the goodness in people. But little did Mrs. Ade know, her trusted maid harbored a secret. One fateful day, temptation lured Sandra, and she succumbed to the darker side of her heart. She had stolen a significant sum of money from her trusting employer, Mrs. Ade. Sandra, using her intelligence and cleverness, managed to cover her tracks. She carefully planned her escape, moving to a distant state far away from Ogun State, where she felt the long arm of the law couldn't reach her. Once there, she decided to turn her life around and set up a business for herself. As the winds of fate guided her, Sandra found herself in a bustling city where she decided to rewrite her story. With a shrewd mind and an enterprising spirit, she established a thriving business, climbing the ladder of success one step at a time. Sandra, once a mere maid, now stood tall as a self-made woman, respected and admired by the community she now called home. One day, while navigating the vast realm of the internet, Sandra encountered someone who would change her life forever. His name was Debo, a charming man residing in the United States. Despite the geographical distance, a deep connection blossomed between Sandra and Debo, leading to a blossoming long-distance relationship. Debo became the light that brightened Sandra's days, and Sandra too, vice versa for Debo. In their hearts, they wove dreams of a life together, married, children, and a future filled with shared laughter. The only barrier between them was the vast ocean that separated their worlds. They eagerly awaited the day when Debo would return to Nigeria, bridging the distance and making their dreams a reality. When Debo finally arrived, Sandra joyfully introduced him to her family. The warmth and acceptance from her kin and family were a testament to the love that had grown between them. The time had come for Debo to reciprocate and introduce Sandra to his own family. However, fate had a twist in store for Sandra. When it was time for Debo to introduce Sandra to his own family, a shocking revelation unfolded. Debo was the son of none other than Mrs. Ade, the very woman from whom she had stolen. The ground threatened to open beneath her, but it held firm. She wished the ground could open. Mrs. Ade, despite her blindness, recognized Sandra's presence. The past, once buried, resurfaced, and the wounds of betrayal were laid bare. The moment was filled with tension. Anger and disappointment flashed in her sightless eyes, and she wasted no time in sending Sandra away. With a stern resolve, Mrs. Ade declared that over her dead body would Debo marry Sandra. No plea, no offer of recompense could sway her decision. Debo, her son, did everything possible to beg his mom, but she refused. She imagined having to do with her as a daughter-in-law and how she trusted Sandra back then with her life. Possibly in the future, she could also sniff life out of her. She also saw her as a gold digger. Heartbroken, Sandra watched helplessly as the love she had built with Debo crumbled before her eyes. The dreams of a joyous family wedding and a future, a beautiful one at that, together vanished, leaving Sandra to confront the consequences of her past actions. She wished she could turn back time, undo the theft, and earn Mrs. Ade's forgiveness. But as reality set in, Sandra had to face the painful truth that some mistakes, no matter how cleverly hidden, have a way of resurfacing and altering the course of one's destiny. Time, once past, cannot be rewound, and she was left to carry the burden of her choices into the tapestry of her future. The lesson to be learned in this story: when one trusts us, whether seen or not seen, we should be of good character and should be content. Yeah, it's understandable that Sandra stole the money to better her life and for the future. But then, I believe since Mrs. Ade loved her and she was a good woman, she could also possibly have asked for this money and Mrs. Ade would have given to her. But she didn't. Instead, she stole from her and ran away. And in her future, her beautiful future, her sins from the past caught up with her. So let's be careful how we live our lives so that our lives now don't affect us in the nearest future. Thank you and do have a great day. Thank you for all the love, the support so far. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. See you in our next story.